Would you like to have more time to enjoy the finer things in life? Maybe you've spent valuable time in a traffic jam recently. Whether it's work or pleasure, catch a ferry for a relaxing, reliable and cost-effective way to see our magnificent harbour. Have you caught a ferry lately?
Today, I'm going to catch a train.
Authorised by the New South Wales Department of Public Transport.
What are you hoping to achieve at Bowraville?
I'm hoping to check the accuracy. You know, like I said, I have to check the accuracy of what I've written without having been there, because it's the only place that I've named in the book that I haven't been to. So, because it's a very realistic book, I've named things like Broken Hill, I've named Mudawinji National Park, and I've been to all those places 2 and 3 times. But Bowraville, because it was just a sort of happy memory for the narrator, I thought, well, I might just get away with saying a few general things about the schooling or about, you know, inventing a family that he was happy with. And then somebody pointed out to me, one of the readers, that a friend of mine read it and said, I think you haven't been there, have you? And I said, no. She said, I think you should go there. So even though it's finished, sort of, I think that it needs perhaps a check of the accuracy and maybe even an expansion of the happy scenes, if you like, a sense that this friend said that Bowraville was like the fertile coast, whereas the journey that the character takes is inland to the arid interior, and she liked that contrast, that sort of coastal interior contrast, and felt that I should make more of it, and I think she's probably right. I want to find a kind of happiness, or a not a cliched one, but a place where the narrator, Chook, might have been happy, a family that he might have met who were kind of a whole family. The other good thing about the person who showed me around was that she herself had been a foster kid, and she had a real sense of empathy with the hero of my book, who's a child who's really on the edge of society, really struggling to find a place, stuck with a violent and fairly abusive father. She had known this kind of life herself, so she was really good. As we drove around the district, because we went all around, the area, not Bowraville itself, but the area around Bowraville is much more interesting. She kept calling it the Arms, going up the Arms, because the Nambucca River has a North Arm, a South Arm and Taylor's Arm, and off in all this area are bush tracks where people live in various ways. Some of them live in cars, some of them live in shacks. I saw some of the shacks that people might be living in, and they were exactly the sort of territory that I was looking for, where Chook and his dad might well have been hiding out or might have been living, growing dope plants. That kind of area is what it's like. So Diane was great, because we'd be going over a little wooden bridge or something, and she'd say, see, that's the kind of sound a kid would remember, that sort of ka-clunk, ka-clunk, ka-clunk that the car makes over the bridge. So I first decided I wanted to write in about 1986, and at that stage I was going to write a play, and I did try and write a number of plays, because I was working in the theatre as a teacher of acting, as an actress, as a director of plays. So the natural thing to write seemed to be plays. And I kept trying to write plays for about 14 years, some of which had the odd reading, some of which got part way. You know, people would always say, yes, this has got promise, just needs rewriting. And then they never got taken up or put on in a professional production. And I decided that I would try and write prose, and I've actually found it much easier to write than plays. So really that's only since about 2000, the year 2000, that I started trying to write prose. And I've been very lucky. This is the first full book that I've written, and it's been taken up by publishers, so it's a miracle. The urge to write is about wanting to make meaning, to make meaning of your life so far. That's why I can't imagine how people can do it when they're a lot younger, because I sort of think you're busy living then. That's what I was anyway. I was too busy living earlier, and now I feel like I want to contemplate a bit. I want to understand what's happened.
I met Denise first, I think it was the year 2000, and I was running a one-day workshop at Varuna Writers' Centre in the Blue Mountains, and Denise was one of about 9 or 10 students maybe. And so during the day we just, go through a whole lot of stuff about fiction writing, and she had a real spark, and when she read at the end of the day, she read a bit that became part of this novel, and I was really struck by the voice that was really powerful. And I remember sort of following her out of the room at the end of the day and just sort of grabbing her elbow and saying, you really have to keep going because you've got something powerful in there.
Well, from the time that the manuscript really got together, I think 3 years it's taken to get there, which is an awful long time. Probably the first year was me getting my act together. The second year was engaging with the publisher in just structural change and adding lots more stuff, because my style is a bit epigrammatic. I sort of say less than I should, so I've needed constantly to expand on what I've said. And then this last year, I think, has mostly been waiting on for getting the ending right, and then waiting on the publisher to get back to me with the copy edits and talking about the cover and all that kind of thing. I think the first manuscript that I wrote was more like a short story. It had just a skeletal sort of storyline, almost the story of Chook and Kev on the road from beginning to end. What's changed over the 3 years is that there's been a lot of filling in of the detail, enlarging that little relationship into something bigger through backstory, through talking, bringing in stuff from the past.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Linda Fennell. I'm the fiction publisher at HarperCollins, and it's my very great pleasure to welcome you all here this afternoon to the combined launch of The Last Rite by Denise Young and a celebration of the Varuna Awards for manuscript development.
It's a beautifully written novel, very well constructed, spare, moving, sometimes shocking. It deals with unresolvable complexities in people and their relationships. I don't want to say any more because I don't want to spoil the book for you, but I do want to welcome a very fine new writer to the Australian literary scene and a great first novel, and I have great pleasure in finally launching this book.
I look for something that has resonance for me, but also that obviously the writing, it's not going to even be read very far if the writing isn't good, but you're also looking for a story that draws you in. And I think that's probably the two most important things, that the writing is good and that the story is engaging. I think the characterisation that Denise has achieved is amazing. I think that you can picture Chook, you can picture Kev, you know people like them, and whereas perhaps in real life you'd cross the street, you wouldn't want to meet those people, in this book You want to know what's going to happen.
Here where the great hills fall away to bays of silver sea, I hold within my hand today a wild thing strange to me. Behind me is the deep green dell where lives familiar light. The leaves and flowers I know so well are gleaming in my sight. And yonder is the mountain glen where sings in trees unstirred by breath of breeze or axe of men the shining satin bird. The old weird cry of plover comes across the marshy ways, and here the hermit hornet hums, and here the wild bee strays. No novel life or light I see on hill in dale beneath. All things around are known to me, except this bit of heath. This touching growth has made me dream. It sends my soul afar to where the Scottish mountains gleam against the northern star. It droops, this plant, like one who grieves, but while my fancy glows, there is that glory on its leaves which never robe the rose. For near its wind-blown native spot were born by crags uphurled the ringing songs of Walter Scott that shook the whole wide world. There haply by the sounding streams, and where the fountains break, he saw the darling of his dreams, the Lady of the Lake. And on the peaks where never leaf of lowland beauty grew, perhaps he met Clan Alpine's chief, the rugged Roderick Dhu. Not far perchance this heather throve, above fair banks of ferns, from that green place of stream and grove that knew the voice of Burns. Against the radiant river ways still waves the noble wood, where in the old majestic days the Scottish poet stood. Perhaps my heather used to beam in robes of morning frost, by dells which saw that lovely dream, the Mary that he lost. I hope indeed the singer knew the little spot of land on which the mountain beauty grew that withers in my hand. A highland sky my vision fills, I feel the great strong north, the hard grey weather of the hills that brings men, children forth. The peaks of Scotland where the din and flame of thunders go seem near to me with the masculine. Hail, sons of wind and snow! So potent is the heather here, that under skies of blue I seem to breathe the atmosphere that William Wallace knew. And under windy mountain wall, where breaks the torrent loose, I fancy I can hear the call of grand old Robert Bruce.
Once upon a time, there was a humble mud crab called Duncan, who fell madly in love with an amazingly beautiful princess. Her father was king of all of Balmain Bay. Duncan thought she was the most captivating creature in the whole wide world, and he wondered if anyone so beautiful could ever love him in return. He thought of her day and night, and finally decided to ask her out. To his amazement, she accepted. It was the start of an idyllic summer together. It is impossible to imagine a happier couple. After some time, he decided to ask her parents for her hand in marriage. But they said they would not allow any daughter of theirs to marry someone so lowly. Someone who could only walk sideways. Duncan was totally destroyed and really very angry. He tried to drink himself into oblivion. And then he thought, I wonder if my beautiful princess is pining away to nothing. She must be missing me. I will go to her side. To his surprise, he started to walk forward. The king was amazed, and the princess's little brothers and sisters were just delighted. Duncan thought, this is truly the most wonderful day of my life. When they were finally alone together, the beautiful princess said, "How on earth did you manage to walk forwards? I've only ever seen you walk sideways, like all of the other mud crabs." And he said, "I could never hold my drink. I was just totally pissed."
With a name like Kangaroo Island, there's only one country in the world where that could be. It is in fact only 18 kilometres off the coast of South Australia, seen here in the background where the ferry that carried us to the island departs and another waits to come in. Although the main port for the island is Penshaw, the major town is Kingscote, just across the bay. It was established in 1836 after the law moved in and removed a motley collection of whalers, sealers, escaped convicts, ship's deserters and other assorted scoundrels who had previously taken over the island. Fortunately today the inhabitants are much more genteel and law-abiding. At nearby Emu Bay, we are lucky enough to be able to observe a pair of rare hooded plovers. Our next stop takes us across the island to Seal Bay. The bay is on the southern part of the island and is home to approximately 600 sea lions. They are endemic to Australia, and with a total number of only 12,000, they are one of the rarest of the seal species. They are usually very sleepy during the day, but this lot, however, seem remarkably active, especially the young pups who appear to have only mischief on their mind. Our journey now takes us across the island to the Flinders Chase National Park to view a feature of the island that is quite remarkable. It has taken Mother Nature approximately 200 million years to create these strange sculptures by the sea. Just around the corner is the Cape de Cadec area and the Admiral's Arch. We are now on our way to the Western KI Caravan Park, where our guidebook informs us we should be able to see some koalas in the wild. The park is actually a haven for wildlife who, because of Australia's long-running drought, visit for a chew of the grass and a welcome drink. We find our koalas, and of course they are doing what koalas do best, sleeping. After dark, the action hots up. This brush-tailed possum was very grateful for a piece of carrot. After all, she has one extra to care for tucked away in her pouch. It is now back to Kingscote for us, and hopefully we will get there in time for the pelican feeding. So far, none of the feeders have lost any of their hands, yet, or so we are told. Second stage feeding takes place in the water, and it is not for the faint-hearted. Pelicans happily digest their dinner, it is back to the mainland time for us.
Oh, bother. Now, that's better. Once upon a time, there was a little aeroplane. Well, he wasn't really an aeroplane. He was actually a weather vane, made to look like an aeroplane. And he wanted to be an aeroplane. He liked bright colours, and his job was to tell everyone the strength and direction of the wind. Little Aeroplane was good at his job, and tried so hard to get it right, but sometimes the wind would play mean tricks on him, and this made him very angry. No one paid any attention to him. He felt unwanted and unloved. "It's not fair," he cried. Why can't I be like my big brother? Then I could be someone important, and everyone would like me and talk to me. His big brother lived in the capital city. He worked at Parliament House and had a very important occupation. He was appointed to the highest level of government, and his job was to give directions to the Prime Minister. However, being the black sheep of his family, and by nature a political animal, you could never be really sure that he was, well, facing the right way, so to speak. Little Aeroplane desperately wanted to be someone important. In fact, he dreamed about it so much that one day a strange thing happened. It was a hot summer's day, and even the wind stopped blowing, so the little aeroplane had nothing to do but doze in the sunshine and dream great dreams. Suddenly, he was high in the sky, flying freely amongst the passing aircraft he saw each day. He flew right up close to say hello, but they weren't very interested in him and took no notice. "Come on, fellas, talk to me, will you? Hey guys, wait for me." They thought he was just another colourful character who would probably get in their way. Why won't they talk to me, he wondered. I know, he thought. I'll do something very clever. So the little aeroplane set off to the big city. Over all the tall buildings, and then flew down low to attract everyone's attention. Now he was so excited with his idea and wanted to show off to everyone. "Just watch me," he cried. "Can you do this?" Whee! "Look, Mum, no hands." "Wow, that was fantastic," said the little aeroplane. "I can do anything now. Just watch this." Now, our hero certainly had the people's attention, but he was also noticed by the local constabulary. So our little aeroplane beat a hasty retreat back to the suburbs, and perhaps it was just as well. Down below were some people in a park. "I know," he said. "I'll just fly down there and show them what I can do. They'll be impressed." Little Aeroplane was pleased. "Wow, I really showed them, didn't I? They loved it. Look, they're all waving to me. Isn't that friendly?" Unfortunately, somehow word of his antics had reached the Prime Minister. Yes, someone told him.
This crisis has seen the Australian...
Suspecting terrorist activity, the PM sent out the entire Air Force. Little Aeroplane was terrified. "What if they catch me?" he cried. "I don't have a passport or a visa. They could put me into one of those detention centres. No one would ever recognise me. I could be there forever. Oh, I wish I was home again on my own perch where I'm safe. I'll never, never want to be important again." Incredibly, Somehow the little aeroplane found himself back once more in his own backyard. "Oh, thank goodness," he gasped with relief. "I must have had a bad dream." Yes, that's what it was. Just a dream. He vowed he never again would try to impress people. "From now on, I'll just be myself," he promised. And that's where all good stories should end. But there again, in these uncertain times, "Attention, attention. Any person knowing the whereabouts of a small, red, unlicensed aircraft must report it to the nearest police station. Attention, attention. Any person knowing the whereabouts..."
I don't know how he's going to do that.